I want to start off here with the chaos, with the absurdity, with the ridiculousness of the way that ESPN is covering the Tampa Bay Rays and their statement, 5 players on the Tampa Bay Rays who chose not to wear the pride flag on their uniforms. We just played, to close out Clay and Buck, some of you may have seen it, the fact that Kramer, if you remember back in the day in Seinfeld, would not wear the ribbon on the AIDS march, and how furious, for comedic purposes, people got at him for marching in the AIDS march or AIDS walk, but not having the ribbon on. And that's really where we are now, although it's not a joke in American life. Now, a lot of you may think to yourself, hey, if I wanted to put on Around the Horn on ESPN, it would be to find out whatever the latest news is in the world of sports, maybe to see sports media members debate sports-related topics. Instead, what you saw yesterday afternoon was one of their commentators, Sarah Spain, decided that she was going to go off and call the Tampa Bay Rays people their religious statement BS, and also call them bigots because they wouldn't wear a pride flag. Now, this is the world in which we have moved into very rapidly. And I want to use it as a jumping off point to talk about a topic that won't be discussed at all at ESPN. And that's transgender male deciding to be women athletes who are taking away spots from women. And what I want to use that to illustrate is how an argument for inclusiveness eventually, when it's given to its full fruition, becomes exclusive. And that's where I think we are with a lot of issues that are going on in this country right now. Transgender people are saying, men who decide to be women, I am a woman and I deserve to compete in women's athletics. Well, if you allow that to happen, then your inclusion is also going to lead to exclusion. And we don't talk about this enough, because if women don't win their competitions, then what you are doing by including men who identify as women is excluding actual women. And there is a difference between saying, hey, you do whatever you want. You have as much pride in your perspective as possible, and mandating that everyone wear that gay pride flag on their uniform. Now, I've said before, I probably would wear it. I wouldn't take a stand because I don't feel that strongly, personally, about any aspect of this. But I think when we are mandating that people do it, and people do have strong feelings and they choose not to do it, it's way braver than just meekly acquiescing and wearing a pride flag on your jersey. The 5 guys who chose not to wear that pride flag are now getting called bigots on ESPN. They are getting called, their religious explanation is being called BS live on ESPN. Now, I don't think most people want to watch that on ESPN, a sports network. I think that's a debate that probably could exist on Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, certainly within the pages of news-related coverage, right? But I don't think the vast majority of ESPN fans feel the way that Sarah Spain does. I also think it's significant that nobody on that show pushed back and made the opposite argument. That's the difference between a debate and a lecture. It's the difference between an argument between two sides and propaganda. ESPN now exists to peddle far left-wing propaganda, and they don't even challenge the talking points there. This is an important jumping off point to understand where we are. And I need to share this video for those of you who didn't actually see it. But calling people who disagree with you live on the air of a sports network bigots and calling their religion BS is where ESPN is. And I don't think it's where the vast majority of American sports fans are. I think it's where the vast majority of American sports media is. And I think it's probably where the majority of the tiny subset of sports fans that are active on Twitter may be. But it's a tiny subset of sports fans overall that they are representing. And I think it ties in with what's going on in the NBA. The NBA is the wokest sports league in America. And they have tried assiduously to appeal to left-wingers on social media platforms. And the result of that is a disaster for the ESPN brand. Game 2 was a couple of nights ago, I think, Sunday night. It joined Game 1 in setting a 15-year low for NBA viewership. They have great teams playing. So the Warriors going up against the Celtics, big brands in Boston and in San Francisco, California versus the East Coast, and yet no one's watching. In fact, you won't hear very many people talk about this. The most watched NBA Finals ever. Do you know what it was? Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls against the Utah Jazz in 1998. Nearly 30 million people watched the NBA Finals in 1998. That is 25 years ago, roughly. Since that time, since 1998, more people have watched the Super Bowl, for instance. Way more people watched the Super Bowl than watched the Super Bowl in 1998. So people who say, well, there's just fewer people watching, that's actually not true. There are 50 million more people who live in the United States now than lived in the United States in 1998. The NBA has lost nearly 2/3 of the audience for their signature event, the NBA Finals, in the space of 25 years. And it's really accelerated over the past several years. Why is that? Because the NBA got woke. It's not complicated. The NBA continues to lean into politics like ESPN does. And when they lean into politics, they end up alienating a huge percentage of their overall audience, which is why I believe we are at 15-year low ratings in June. I believe the last time this few people watched the NBA was in 2007 when we had a series between the Nets and the Spurs, which is the least watched modern era NBA final that took place in June. 15 years later, those numbers are being challenged as no one is tuning in to watch these games on ABC.